The Netherlands may be a small country, but it is known for many things. The country is most known for its cheese, wooden shoes, windmills and tulips. The Netherlands is the 17th biggest economy in the world and has a high GDP per capita of over $50,000. The geographic location of the country could be seen as both a blessing and a curse. A blessing, as its location means it can serve as a European trade hub, a curse because almost a quarter of the country is below sea level. Despite this, the country's non-stop battle against water has made it an expert in water management, including flood protection. It is a spectacle to see how the Dutch manage all of their dams, dikes and flood protection. The Dutch are highly individualistic. There is this idea that the individualistic societies are more likely to gain economic success collectively, but we can't exactly be sure and it is up for debate. Also, the government usually has a higher regulatory role in the economy. The government's interventions in the economy were reduced back in the 1980s when market economy was professed worldwide. This resulted in considerable privatisation as well as the restructuring of welfare programs. Nonetheless, it remains highly regulated but still a market economy. In fact, it is arguably often referred to as the birthplace of modern capitalism. Forget about modern companies like Amazon, Apple, Google, etc. Back in the 17th century, the Dutch East India Company was the most valuable company in history. It did commit many atrocities and misuse its powers with colonialism. However, it created many modern-day economic principles that function as a blueprint for modern-era corporations. It was not until the late 1700s that they were replaced by the British as the world's leading trade nation. The tradition of being merchants and traders carries on as the country's economy continues to be highly dependent on foreign trade. But there are many economic lessons that can be learnt from Dutch history. Tulips were introduced into Europe from Turkey after 1550. The vibrantly beautiful flowers became immensely popular. Through a viral infection, some of these flowers displayed varied patterns. As the rich sometimes collect rare items like paintings for ridiculous prices, many wealthy individuals began to collect and display these rare tulips. Demand for mixed coloured tulips exceeded the supply, and prices of these rare bulbs skyrocketed. In the beginning of the 17th century, a single bulb of a new variety was satisfactory as dowry for a bride or as a payment for a thriving brewery in France. The madness reached its peak in Holland during the 1630s. Many people thought that the whole of Europe and possibly the whole world would want to own tulips. The prices elevated so much that a single flower was priced more than some houses, and things were getting out of hand very quickly. While trades were done as cash for the bulbs, many bulbs were sold and resold as a futures contract without even leaving the ground, further complicating matters. Finally, the madness ended in 1637, with a drastic collapse in prices and many losing their fortunes. This is dubbed as Tulip Mania, and it refers to the first recorded speculative bubble, and it is a perfect example of how quick people are to forget how much of a real intrinsic value an asset holds. People bought more and more in hopes to sell them later for profits. For a person, it may seem ridiculous to purchase a tulip bulb for, let's say, $1 million, but if you truly believe that it can be sold for, say, $3 million, suddenly the tulip bulb looks like a worthwhile investment and a good financial decision. In recent times, some people have compared cryptocurrencies to Tulip Mania, whilst this is debatable and others disagree. But some historians believe that this story was very exaggerated and note that it didn't affect many people in the Netherlands, so it didn't have much of a real effect on the economy. Nevertheless, this story serves to caution future generations about how bubbles are formed and how quickly we can get carried away with things. The finding of natural gas in Groningen had a huge beneficial impact on the Dutch economy. This discovery in 1959 was as important for the Netherlands as oil was for Norway or banks were for Switzerland. While natural gas helped the Dutch economy improve, it also negatively impacted the overall economy. It seems that there is a relationship between the economic growth of one sector compared to a decline in other sectors. The growing sectors are usually natural resources, but not limited to them, while the other sectors can be manufacturing and agriculture. The Netherlands began exporting natural gas to other countries. However, when the revenue started pouring in, the country's currency began to increase in value because the currency had higher demand in the international market. Although this seems like a great thing, the appreciation made the Dutch exports more expensive for other countries to purchase, putting pressure on the other sectors of the economy. Also, the appreciated currency made the imports more affordable for consumers, Thus, they started to buy imported goods rather than locally produced goods, negatively impacting the local manufacturing industry. The natural gas sector had lots of revenue from all the exports, and it meant that they could pay more. This attracted workers to this sector, but they couldn't hire everyone since they could only hire so many people. Another impact of the higher wages is that the other companies are expected to pay out more to their workers. This means they can afford less workers and ultimately hire less, increasing unemployment. The natural gas sector also brings in government revenue, which allows them to provide social welfare programs. However, if something bad happens to this sector, the government may have to cut back on their promises, which people don't like. This was labelled the Dutch disease by The Economist and highlights the importance of managing wealth appropriately and diversifying the economy. Nowadays, the Netherlands has one of the highest employment rates, which is a measure of people employed in the working age population. One thing to be noted is the high proportion of people working part-time, indicating the flexible approach to work that the Dutch have, as they relatively are more inclined towards working in the evenings or on the weekends. The Netherlands is among the countries with the lowest income inequality. However, wealth inequality is debatable. Due to the large middle-class population, it seems as if there is a low wealth inequality. However, it doesn't mean that there aren't ultra-rich people owning a large majority of the wealth. Public spending is high in the Netherlands as they have a really good pension scheme and welfare system. Household debt has reached above 230% of the net disposable income, which is among the highest in the world. And Amsterdam has really high rates when compared to the rest of the country. The Netherlands has a combination of a growing elderly population and a low fertility rate, which is below the replacement levels. But immigration is a touchy topic in the country, and they are less inclined towards more open immigration policies to increase the working age population like Canada. The Dutch residents and companies are amongst the biggest investors in foreign countries. The country is also home to some of the world's biggest companies, including the Royal Dutch Shell, Heineken, Philips, etc. The Netherlands ranks amongst the least corrupt countries, which leads to the people trusting the government in power. However, at the same time, it also ranks among the top 10 list of the Financial Secrecy Index that ranks countries based on their financial secrecy, offshore financial activities, and illegal financial flows, essentially helping multinational companies to underpay income taxes. However, the country acts with good morals by implementing clean energy initiatives and then discontinuing the natural gas extraction. The Netherlands has a strategic position in the European distribution network with Schiphol Airport, Rotterdam and Amsterdam ports, as well as the connection to the Euro corridors. With warehouses and distribution centres, the Netherlands offers its services to big international corporations to supply their goods to Europe. Rotterdam port is also called the largest German port due to its significance for the economy in Germany. Being part of the Eurozone, the country's monetary policy is controlled by the European Central Bank. The Dutch economy is more strongly tied to the European Union than the UK, so it has more to lose if it goes towards the same path that the United Kingdom took, which is Brexit. The Netherlands' love to adopt technology for agriculture is impressive, but also natural considering it has a high population density. The Dutch agricultural sector is highly mechanised and developed with greenhouses and other technologies, thus allowing for automation and employing the smallest workforce for the maximum output possible. So, the Netherlands is the second biggest exporter of agricultural products in the world. Now, if you see the rankings of the biggest food producers from different sources, you will notice the Netherlands is nowhere among the top. Many sources on the internet are linking the value of exports with the innovation happening in the agricultural sector in the Netherlands. This is false advertising. Because many of the exported agricultural products are first imported from other countries, including some countries with low wages, where all kinds of farming techniques are used instead of the high-tech methods used in the Netherlands. Subsidies, as well as high tariffs on cheap foods from developing countries, keeps the European Union agricultural sector profitable. A big chunk of agricultural exports include inedible products such as flowers, which are also partly imported from other countries and traded through the Netherlands. However, the country is the European Union's largest meat exporter, with veal and beef exports to Germany, poultry to the United Kingdom and pork to China. The Dutch can produce more inexpensive pork for China than the Chinese could produce for their own country. Other important exports are dairy and some vegetables. The Dutch high agricultural exports are based on the value and not the volume. They have access to high-paying countries where quality premium price products can be sold. There are many other contributing factors that lead to the agricultural success, such as the logistics, warehouses and distribution network. an ideal port at the crossroads of Europe with access to large markets. Bulk transport is also comparatively inexpensive, and a homogeneous trade bloc also helps. If you don't have all of these benefits, you can't be as successful as the Netherlands, even if you try to adopt all the fancy equipment and techniques the Dutch agricultural sector is using. The theory is advocating to raise everyone to sufficiency while lowering unsustainable consumption. It sounds more like a proposition for a better management system than a new economic theory, which it is desperately trying to become, packaged into fantasy catchwords and morality. Thank you for watching the video. If you feel we've missed anything, please do drop it in the comments below and we will try to reply to everyone in the comment section. Please like, subscribe and share to support the channel, and do hit the bell icon so you are notified when we upload next. Until next time, bye bye.